Size can matter for yokai. Size can stand for greatness, divinity, a scare tactic, or it could just be a cosmetic thing. Now, yokai come in many different sizes, and while there are a lot to cover, today we'll be focusing on the one in the dry lands, Dromp. Introduced in Yokai-Watch 1, Dromp is an S-ranked Earth attribute yokai that hails from the Tough tribe, whose favorite food is vegetables. He was demoted to A rank in Yokai-Watch 2. His blurb reads, "Fairy tales tell of the monstrous Dromp building mountains and digging ponds. This yokai really likes mazes and has the ability to terraform landscapes into labyrinths, where he then teleports or traps victims there to find a way out, largely for his entertainment. Though a nice fellow, Dromp can make it harder for the victim to exit the maze by creating obstacles, rendering navigation systems, and distorting the view of finding a way out. Those affected by this are known to wander throughout these mazes for an eternity." This is all from the Gentle Giant, by the way. He also has the ability to size shift himself. When inspiriting, Dromp will make the victim stubborn and refusing to ask directions, even when lost. In Yokai-Watch 1, Dromp can be obtained through the Flower for the Shrine mission, in which, after fighting some white Pinky Poos to get the Forever Flower and Signington in the abandoned tunnel, you'll then place the flower on the shrine. Dromp will appear, you'll fight, and he'll automatically befriend you after. In Yokai-Watch 2, he'll automatically befriend you after Treasure Hunters Part 3 mission. In Yokai-Watch 3, you may get lucky after climbing the pole to see Dromp through a cutscene, or you can just save before climbing the pole and soft reset until Dromp appears. In Yokai-Watch Puni Puni, Dromp appears as the hidden stage in the 3rd or 4th Terror Time event. In the anime, Dromp appears in episode 53 in his own segment, where he creates a maze for Nate and Whisper, where Nate is trying to catch his show. He also appears in some later episodes. Now to move on to the names, Dromp's English name, Dromp, may be a combination of words drop, to let or make something fall, and stomp, tread heavily and noisily, typically in an order to show anger. It could also be for words such as swamp, drokes, clump, tromp, romp, or could be for sounds of stepping in muddy areas. His Japanese name, Daidarabochi, is based off of a yokai that we will get to later on in the origin. Dromp's German name is Stomped, which is pretty much just a sound effect for a stomp, but also, funny thing, when you type in Dromp into the translator, it translates to fallen. Dromp's Korean name is Ahalukiadu, which means molted.
Mottled.
Which means marked with spots or smears of color, which Dromp is with the brown. Dromp's Chinese name is Taidala Fashi, or Too Big Mage, because of how his terraforming is and how giant Dromp is. Dromp's Spanish name is Pomp, which comes from the word pomelio, which translates to grapefruit, or pomelia, which translates to flower. Dromp's Brazilian Portuguese name is Montogro. This is a combination of monte, mound, and ogro, ogre. This is also kind of to reference his yokai origin in being a mountain ogre. His French name, Mystère, is a corruption of mystère, which translates to mystery, or a combination of terrier, which translates to terrain or ground, and mystère, which translates to mystery. His Italian name is Taddeo, which is a combination of terra, which translates to land, and mysterio, which translates to mystery, or is a corruption of terra, which translates to land. Now we move on to the appearance. For appearance, Dromp is a big pile of dirt with a patch of grass and 2 flowers on the top of his head. He also has brown/yellow eyes and dirt hands with 4 fingers. From the appearance, I was gonna have something about soil and sediment, but I can't understand anything from it, so moving on to the origin. Dromp is a giant in the Yokai-Watch universe, and there needs to be an origin to fit the appearance. Luckily, we have a yokai that Dromp is based on through the namesake. The giant Daidarabochi, or giant priest, is a colossal humanoid yokai that resembles a bald-headed priest. These yokai have big rolling eyes, long lolling tongue, and pitch black skin. This shares a lot of similarities with other giants in yokai mythology, such as the Onyudo and the Umibozo, which is weird that we don't have the Onyudo. Daidarabochi are said to shape the world with their movement, building mountains by piling up rocks and dirt, picking up and moving mountains to other places, and leaving lakes and valleys behind from their footprints whenever they walk. Because of this, many places in Japan were said to be made by the Daidarabochi, with some being named after them. There were countless legends found all over Japan that helped shape the Daidarabochi over the course of certain periods. Legends like Mount Fuji is said to be sometimes made by the Daidarabochi. The giant scooped and dug up all the dirt in Kai province to make the mountain, and that is why the area around Mount Fuji is a large basin. He gathered more dirt from the mountain by digging in Omi province, and the area he dug became Lake Biwa. The towns of Daita and Setagaya, ward of Tokyo, and Daitakubo and Saitama are named after Daidarabochi. These towns are said to have been created by Daidarabochi. Daizahoshi Pond in Nagano Prefecture is named after the Daidarabochi and is believed to have been created by one. Senba Lake in Ibaraki Prefecture is also said to fill the footprint of the particularly large Daidarabochi. The Takabochi Plateau in Nagano's Yatsugatake Quasi National Park is said to have been formed when the Daidarabochi laid down to rest his back for a bit. Daidarabochi weighed Mount Fuji and Mount Tsukuba to see which was heavier, but he accidentally split Tsukuba's peak after he was finished with it. The Hitachi no Kuni Fudoki, a recording of the imperial customs in the Hitachi province compiled in the 8th century, also told of a Daidarabochi living on the hill west of the post office of Hiratsu Oguchi, who fed on giant clams from the beach, piling the shells on top of a hill. Izumo no Kuni Fudoki also mentions a legendary king of Izumo, Omitsunu, who was the grandson of Susanoo and a demigod. Having the strength of a giant, he performed kunibiki, pulling land from Sela with ropes to increase the size of his territory. And though this yokai fits Dromp in design with shaping the world, now it's time to shape our minds into the media and look at what the media has for us. And this was a yokai that I thought would appear a lot in the media, just like the Hona Oa, but surprise, surprise, they do. Spoilers, by the way. Age of Ishtaria. This was a mobile game developed by Silicon Studios in 2014 that had players take part in battles against monsters by creating a team of powerful units, each from different assortments of history and mythos. The Daidarabochi appears as Daidara, a slice-type wind element female unit that over time ranking up has a portrait with a mysterious clay-like figure. For her blurb, it reads, "It's not that I hate people, it's just I don't really know what to do around them. That's why I've always tried to avoid them. Until that day I heard that song. A song of celebration, a song of gratitude. For me, maybe saving their village wasn't such a bad idea after all, huh?" And even though this game is still going, even though it looks like they're on life support, it's bringing more characters every 2 weeks. You know what I mean? More boobies. Ayakashi, an anime that is based on a visual novel, and an eroge novel at that. The story takes place with Kusaka Yu, a guy who developed supernatural abilities and learned that his powers are due to the Ayakashi parasites in exchange for life force. This forces Yu to use his powers as his and those close to him become threatened by these creatures, and it is up to him not only to protect them, but free himself or succumb to the power. Now, besides being reviewed as one of the worst anime visual novels with a douchebag character that develops into a bigger douche over time, there is a Daidarabochi that is a monster Ayakashi. And though I would like to give you more information, it's really hard to find this anime or gameplay of this visual novel. Akame ga Kill. Akame ga Kill focuses on Tatsumi, a young villager who travels to the capital to raise money for his home, only to discover strong corruption in this area. The assassin group known as Night Raid recruits the young man to help them fight against their corrupt empire. Daidara is a member of Esdeath's bodyguards known as the Three Beasts, bodyguards who are extremely loyal to Esdeath and would carry out her orders without question, even if it costed their lives. Daidara is the counterpart to Daidarabochi due to his name. Destiny of Spirits. This was a free-to-play online strategy game with role-playing elements that shot itself in the foot with it being released on a console Sony chose to ignore, the PS Vita. In the game, Daidarabochi appears as a mid-tier unit and is part of the Earth element, with his lore being Japanese myth and folklore. Electro Girl. Another card gacha game that later on died, and this one featured android girls. And you know what that means? Jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. Daidarabochi appears as an SSR android with 6 different forms. The description for Daidarabochi reads, "A giant android inspired by an old myth. This works as an enemy stronghold destroyer, an espionage specialist group, Ayakashi. If the other members of Ayakashi are people of the shadows, Daidara is the light that flashes through the battlefield. The more the enemy focuses on her enormous existence, the more freely the other members can carry out their mission. At the same time, Daidara has optic mimesis ability that can morph into buildings to carry out surprise attacks." Final Fantasy XIV. This was a failing MMORPG that later on through lore became a reborn world where failure was non-existent for an MMORPG. In the game, Daidarabochi is this gooey monster that hangs out in the mountains, and in the patch, which was added with Stormblood, the Swallow Compass dungeon, Daidarabochi is a boss monster that appears under certain conditions and fights at level 70. Gegege no Kitaro, never gonna get away from this series. The Daidarabochi appeared as one of the giant yokai in the series from 1976 to 2018, and from that point he also appeared as an antagonist to Kitaro. His appearance though was weird. The Daidarabochi's 1971 iteration looked like a big muscular baby, but all that changed from 1985 to 2018, as in the years he looked like a cracked moe statue with big teeth, and his skin would change from brown to yellow to light brown. Getsu Fumadin, Undying Moon. A sequel to Getsu Fumadin which takes place thousands of years after the first game, with a character named Fuma, in which you are tasked with traversing through hell to re-establish its recently broken seal, which is allowing monsters to invade in the surface world as well as finding the whereabouts of your brother. In the game, Daidarabochi appears as a boss in the game after being updated. By the way, this game looks pretty good. Something like Muramasa Demon Blade, Sakuna, Rise of Ruins, and Okami, which we will actually talk about later. Ghostwire. This was the game that was present to showcase the power of the PS5 and was heavily to show Bethesda of how much they love supernatural elements and ghostly apparitions of Japan. In the game, Daidarabochis are seen walking towards a tower and kind of look like Master Quartz from Super Smash Bros. Hell Teacher Nube. This series is about a teacher named Nube whose secret is that his hand is a demon hand that can make him see yokai and ghosts, and he tasks himself to destroy those yokai and ghosts to protect his students. In the manga, Daidarabochi is seen as a good yokai that is a part of the city, helping Miki, one of Nube's students, by saving her from falling from a radio tower, then moving it without causing any damage. They then find out that this yokai is also a building itself. Legends of the Cryptids. This is another RPG card multiplayer game with PvP, so Hearthstone or Teppen. In the game, Daidarabochi is one of the youngest titans who is able to aid Amaterasu in her struggle with Yadogami. Metal Saga, an RPG game set in a post-apocalyptic world where you fight in tanks, cars, bikes, RVs, and even with your dog, who kinda operates like pots. Hold up, wait a minute, for real. Is this an Atlas game? Oh wait, it is. Oh, that makes sense. In the game, Daidarabochi is a big like shadow creature that roams around the desert. That's all I got. I mean, you can look at the fight, but that's all I got. Naruto Shippuden! This is my favorite series, yeah! I think most of us should know what Naruto is, but if you don't know, he's a member of the Big Three, a piece of the Area 51 raid meme, had a show where he grew up, but also was notorious for a plethora amount of filler, had a kid that grew up, and his kid acted like a big jump force. In the series, there are humans known as Jinchuriki that have tailed beasts sealed within them that can give them immense chakra to one they are reserved in. But the Ten Tails, oh boy, also known as Deidarabochi, National Building God or One-Eyed God, that was a whole nother mess. Though I won't give much spoilers because Naruto is one of my favorite animes and I would recommend you at least watch the great ninja wars since Madara himself, oh god boys, Madara is so good. The Ten Tails was said to be the god that created countries, had the power to swallow oceans, split lands, and carry mountains. And this is why I love Naruto. Ninja Sentai Kaku Ranger. You know what, I should just put most of the Super Sentai series together instead of just separating them, but hey, it's more research, I guess. This was Super Sentai as ninjas with yokai having a great war. In the show, Daidarabochi appears as a burly yeti-like yokai and is the younger brother of Daimoa. In the show, he briefly disguised himself as an innkeeper alongside his older sister, Yamauba. But alas, he was killed by Super Kakare, Dai Shogun, Muteki Shogun, and Samurai Man as a result. Nioh 2. Man, Koei is still invading even when I don't want them to. Call it the Japanese Dark Souls because, you know, I don't know. In Nioh 2, the Daidarabochi appears as a boss and an enemy in Nioh 2. He is a giant yokai that attacks with behemoth size. His folklore description says, Daidarabochi is a giant that features in folklore all over Japan. Many link him to the origins of various features of the Japanese terrain. Some say that he created mountains, while others claim that his massive footprints later became lakes. It is believed that he was either one of the gods that created Japan or one of the gods' followers. It is said that after Daidarabochi finishes creating Japan, he sank into a deep slumber in the depths of the earth, never showing himself again. Some attribute the occurrence of earthquakes to Daidarabochi and Nigitama form, particularly in eastern Japan, in which it helps those who are in need to reclaim land and build defenses against flooding. The Aratama form of Daidarabochi is fearsome to behold. How can a human hope to stand up to a giant strong enough to shatter mountains and split the very earth? His immense body is also made of mud, rendering him impervious to all manners of slashing or stabbing attacks. At the source of his power lies in a spirit stone crystal seen dotted around his body. The key to defeating him may perhaps lie into smashing him. Otogi's secret spirit agents. This is the umpth time I will be talking about this game, and many more I guess. For the Daidarabochi, this one appears in female form, and this one also has two forms, a base form and a green form, in which the base form's description reads, a giant spirit living in Hakone. She can change her size at will, but she usually chooses a normal little girl size. She's strangely positive and smiles even at sad times. When in the green form, this gets expanded to a giant spirit who lives in Hakone. At least, she used to live in Hakone until a series of unexpected events led her to obtain the power of Hina Green. She's used to spending all her time alone, so now she seems slightly uncomfortable doing things together with grown-ups. Still, her strangely positive attitude shines through as strongly as ever. Okami Den, the spiritual sequel to Okami, which if you haven't played the game, you should definitely cop that game as it goes on sale frequently. Daidarabochi is a giant celestial robot rabbit that was created by the Moon Tribe. However, they locked it away in the underground ruins so it would not be misused after the fall of their civilization. Daidarabochi is giant, much larger than most things in the game. It is so large as it is the creator of the moon. It can only be controlled by a member of the moon tribe to prevent it from being misused. It is covered in the same markings that characterize all the moon tribe's inventions. Pokemon, the Mon game that still tries to kill other Mon games. What? You know it's true. Legendary trios. We always had some good legendary trios, and we always had some that were just miscarriages. But one that I will remember always as a legendary trio is the Reggies, the Golem Titans. Now in Generation 4, they expanded on the one who created the legendary Titans, Regigigas. The Pokemon who is though known to tow continent and create Pokemon in his own image, has the second worst ability in Pokemon, Princess Mononoke. This is a Studio Ghibli film which follows a young Emishi prince named Ashitaka and his involvement in the struggle between the gods of the forest and the humans who consume its resources. In the movie, the forest spirit, which is also called the Shishigami, and Nightwalker is also known as the god of life or death, that can transform into a gigantic humanoid during the night, in which it can drain life away. That's a humanoid. It kind of looks like Gecko. I guess that's a humanoid, I don't know. Shin Megami Tensei. In this series, we actually have two that are based off the Daidara Bochi. The first being Omisunu, the one that we talked about in the origin, and the second one being a Daidara Bochi, which is based on an actual Japanese legend, but the appearance is more robotic and kiddish, which is still interesting, actually. Shuriken Sentai Ninninger. This is another Super Sentai series in which after 444 years passed, an evil warlord came to destroy humanity again. And why 444 years? Well, because it's bad luck. The yokai Daidara Bochi appears and gets killed very quickly. Touhou, the bullet hell shooter with a gacha that tells me I'm a loser. Well, maybe a winner here. In the Touhou world, Cyrano is an ice fairy that saw a Daidara Bochi and thought that if she could defeat it, that she won't be afraid of anything again. But it turned out to be Hiso Tensoku, a nuclear reactor powered attraction created by a Kappa. Lastly, we got another series that I probably will never escape from, which has hit for 3 for 3, Yu-Gi-Oh! In the manga of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, Bastion Misawa pulls out a card called Daidara Bochi after doing some tributes. This card is a 10-star yokai monster with 2,900 attack and 2,500 defense, and the description of the card reads, this card cannot be special summoned. This card attack goes up by 200 points for each other yokai type monster on the field. When the super heavy samurai pack comes out though, Daidara Bochi gets updated in the booster pack by becoming a super heavy samurai Daidara Bochi, an 11-star earth element machine synchro monster that requires one super heavy samurai tuner monster plus one super heavy samurai non-tuner monster. This card has an attack of 2,200 and a defense of 4,000 with an effect that reads, this card can attack while in face-up defense position. If it does, applies defense for damage calculation. Once per turn, if you have no spells, traps in your graveyard, quick effect, you can discard one card. Look at your opponent's hand. Then you can set one spell trap from your hand to your spell and trap zone. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this effect's activation. Even with the designs being a pile of dirt with grass on his head, you still see the charm that level 5 put into Dromp when designing and giving it more personality, whether it be from the game or the anime. And though there will be more basic designs with yokai like Dromp, each design, yokai, and origin expands itself to a new avenue.